Hey there, this is Anne-Marie, the Anti-HR HR lady, and today I want to talk about 3 ways that employers are using the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, the ADEA, to discriminate against younger workers. And you may be surprised that I'm going to talk about the fact that younger workers are being discriminated against in the workplace, but the fact is that it happens, and a lot of people come to me with this concern and are not sure how to deal with it. So I'm going to talk to you about it. So the ADEA is a law that was passed to protect workers over 40. It was passed because it was decided that employers were discriminating against employees based on age when they are over the age of 40. And so this law was created and passed to protect those workers. The problem is, and there's nothing wrong with that, and age discrimination against older people is real. So it's important that that law exists. But what I am realizing based on conversations with clients and potential clients in discovery calls is that employers are using the fact that employees under the age of 40 are not covered by this law to discriminate against them instead. And that's not cool, and that's not okay. And so I want to share some information for workers who are younger than 40 about what you can do if you believe that your employer is discriminating against you based on your age. As I mentioned, the ADEA was created to protect workers over 40. That's the federal law. But it's important to know that in some states, there are also state and local laws that ban age discrimination, and several states have laws that are broader than the federal law. And several states have laws that also protect workers under 40 or apply to all workers and do not cap it at age 40. So it's important to know that depending on where you live, you may have protections under the state or local age discrimination acts that you don't have under the federal law. But here are 3 things I want you to look out for that employers may be doing because you are younger than 40 that you need to look out for in your workplace if it is happening. Here are 3 ways that employers are discriminating against workers younger than 40 and requiring that they do things or that are subjecting them to treatment that they cannot subject workers over 42. So the first way that some employers are discriminating against younger workers are by engaging in discriminatory and selective hiring and promotion practices. What do I mean by this? Some employers may be subtly discriminating against younger workers by promoting older workers simply based on maturity and experience without considering actual skills and education. And all of those things should be considered when making decisions around hiring, as well as making decisions around promotion. And some employers are punishing workers for being younger by not giving them fair consideration for hiring as well as for promotions in a company. By overlooking the qualifications and potential of younger workers, employers are perpetuating age-based discrimination. The second way that employers often engage in age-based discrimination against younger workers, i.e. workers under the age of 40, is by engaging in unfair compensation and benefits practices. And what I mean by this is offering workers that are younger lower pay and lower benefits package, not because they have less experience or qualifications, but simply because they're younger in age. Many employers take the attitude that younger workers have less responsibilities or less financial obligations, or because they're single or unmarried or don't have children, they don't need to make enough money. That's actually none of their business, and that should not be the basis of deciding what someone should be paid. If there's a pay scale that's based on knowledge, skills, ability, qualifications, etc., that is what the decision should be made on for all employees. And it should not be based on some subjective decision that someone doesn't have kids, so they don't have financial obligations that someone who does has. That is discriminatory, and it is not right. And if an employer is doing that in a state that protects employees under 40 with its Age Discrimination Act rules, they could be running afoul of those laws. A third way that employers engage in discrimination against workers who are younger than 40 and not covered under the federal ADEA Act is to expect them to work longer hours and to carry heavier workloads, again, because of the assumption that they don't have the same responsibilities as a person who is older. And that is an assumption. They assume that because they may not be married or they may not have children or both things, that it's okay for them to work much longer hours and carry much more work tasks than those who are older. And this is a very insidious form of discrimination that you have to look out for. As with all things, when these types of discrimination occur, unfortunately, a lot of times they're disproportionately applied to people of color, and specifically Black people, and especially Black women in the workplace. And so I've had a lot of potential clients and clients tell me stories about employers taking these kinds of actions, displaying these kinds of attitudes towards them as employees, making certain assumptions, and giving them more work to do, expecting higher returns on responsibility from them because they are younger workers. Of course, not paying them more, but simply saying, oh, well, you're single, or, you're young, and making these little kinds of comments. And so what I would say to you is, if this sounds familiar, and sometimes I want to add, employers make assumptions, especially with us Black folk, because we don't always look our age, right? So they make assumptions about you not realizing sometimes that they're making these little comments to you and you're actually over 40 and covered by the federal law. That's one thing. But even if you are not covered by the federal law, this kind of behavior is not okay. And I want you to know that you may in fact be covered by the state law. And in my current blog post, I explain more about this issue and I list the states that cover employees who are younger than 40. Some of them specifically cover employees who are younger than 40, and some of them have more broader language where they cover all employees. It's important to educate yourself about that, but I do provide information in my blog post where I tell you what states provide additional protections for employees that are younger than 40. So when you look at that, if you are in one of those states and you're experiencing this, please reach out to me to have a conversation about what you can do. But let's talk a little bit of some things you can do without even reaching out to me. So the first thing that you can do if you believe that this is happening to you is, guess what? Document. And if you've been following me, you're probably tired of hearing me talk about documentation, but I always say it's the most important thing that most employees are not doing in their workplace. You should be documenting every occurrence that you believe to be age-based discrimination, even if you are younger than 40 and not covered by the federal law in your state. You need to document it because you also need to look at what your employees' policies may say about age discrimination. And many of y'all don't look at your policy handbook, which I beseech you to do. So that's something you should do. Take a look at your employee handbook, know what your employer says that they should be doing relevant to these things, right? And also document any instances. I have a documentation journal on my website. It is downloadable. If you do not know how to document, I would recommend that you grab access to it because not only does it allow you to document, but it explains to you how and what to document in your workplace. But it's very important for you to be documenting these things as soon as they occur. The second thing is to be prepared once you have carefully documented to confront what is happening to you with your HR department. Now, this is very important to do, especially if you find that you are in fact covered by your state or local age discrimination rules, right? Make sure you raise these issues and concerns with HR. Now, understand, as I often explain, that if you raise these issues with HR, you're making a decision to probably leave your employment because a decision to report is often a decision to leave because your HR department is likely to circle the wagon around your manager and help them retaliate against you. But that should not stop you or scare you from reporting these issues, especially if the law is on your side, okay? But you need to be prepared with a strategy about not just identifying that what they're doing is wrong, documenting and reporting it, but then how you're going to ask for an exit. And in my online course, I explain exactly how to ask for an exit from a discriminatory hostile work environment and actually get it. So make sure if you really feel that this is happening to you at your workplace, that you are armed with all the information that you need before you go to HR. But the second thing you're going to need to do after you document and confirm that what is happening in your workplace is not okay, you need to reach out to HR and let them know what is happening to you with your manager. Age discrimination in employment is a huge issue in the United States. Employers continue to discriminate against older workers, those who are over 40. But they also engage in discrimination against workers who are younger than 40. And it's a very insidious thing that is coming to my attention over and over again in my discovery calls. So I wanted to make sure that I raised this in a video so that those of you who this may be happening to and you don't even realize that it may not be okay, that it rings an alarm bell for you, and that if you need to do something about it, you know exactly what you can and cannot do in the context of the laws that exist. A lot of what employers do is because of their understanding that most of us as employees do not know our workplace rights. And the more you know and understand your workplace rights, the better position you are as an employee to, first of all, make sure that the employer is respecting those rights, but also to cash out of a workplace when they are not, i.e. make them pay you to leave if they are violating your rights and you don't want to be in that environment anymore. So I hope this video has been helpful in shining a light on the 3 ways that employers often discriminate against workers who are younger than 40 and do not fall under the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, okay? Just because you're younger doesn't make it okay for them to discriminate against you based on your age. So I want you to have this information so that you can create a plan to protect yourself where it is necessary and appropriate. I hope this video has been helpful. I'm Anne-Marie, the Anti-HR HR lady. As I always tell you, HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend. But I am. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.